Life is a beach, and I'm just playing in the sand. It's a weekday, and I'm strolling down a beautiful white sandy beach, no shoes, feeling good, middle of a weekday, and I'm reflecting on all of the elderly people I see around me. There's not many 28-year-old males walking down the beach because they're all on their computers, they're in the office, they're on the assembly line, they're in the field, they're working right now, as they should be, as I should probably be. But I'm walking on the beach and I'm reflecting on regret because I'm evaluating my life 1 year ago, 2023 March, to currently 2024 March. And I'm thinking, well, what hasn't changed? How have I advanced as a person? How am I different? How am I better? How am I worse? And I see mostly elderly people, and I've been speaking with mostly elderly people. And there's something about regret that is just toxic. It's like a poison because you can't change it. Right now, most of the frustration in my life comes from being at this place and wanting to be somewhere else. And then in that gap creates the stress, anxiety, uncertainty, doubt, fear, comparison, anger. And that's where I'm at. But once you get to a future state, let's say 75, you then have this current state and then you think back. So the anchor point is back and there's no way to change it. So at least we can be optimistic, enthusiastic, knowing the future can change for better or for worse. But whenever you're old, there really is no changing it. I was speaking with a man at dinner last night. He'd been coming to this island for the last 41 years. And it's a special place to come to because it takes money. You don't just come down here to come down here unless you're going on a vacation. But to live down here, it's a whole different thing. He lived in the Northeast, really affluent guy. Bought my dad like a $15 drink just because we spoke with him for a few minutes. And he said, yeah, we've been coming down here 41 years and my wife died in November of last year. It's not the same. It's not the same. And it has me thinking about regret and about, as I think about my life in the future, when I'm on my deathbed, what would I regret the most? And I have a few ideas for you that are non-obvious, because the obvious ones are, of course, centered around relationships, not showing enough love to the people around you, not being around for your kids, not being present. Those are the obvious ones, along with health, because you see some people around here with absolute guts, no mobility. They can't walk, they can barely breathe, and it's over. There's no changing that. They can't go travel. There's nothing they can do. So if you lose your health, you're done. And then from a work standpoint, everyone knows, oh, I spent too much time at work, or I didn't do the career that brought me the most joy, or I wasn't happy enough when I showed up. I didn't take the risks that I could have. And I think people understand those. But as I think about my own life, one regret that I want to minimize is reputation and character ethic. I think a lot of people associate their sense of self with either work, their relationships, their body, some sort of cause. Like you see this, people protesting in the streets about situations that are happening thousands of miles away that they don't even understand. And their whole sense of being and emotionality and energy is being put into this situation so far out of their control. And that's how they show up. That's how they represent themselves. And that's I think another huge mistake some people associate with spirituality. But I think I want to be known for someone with high integrity, because people will forget what I accomplished. People will forget what I said, but people will never forget how I made them feel. So although I deal with quite a bit of uncertainty on a day-to-day basis as someone who does not work in the corporate America system, there's no safety net. I don't make as much money as I used to because I don't have a $200,000 a year OTE. So there's no safety net, but my upside is uncapped. Most employees don't have that. So none of that really matters, but what matters most is the character ethic. So saying, hey, I'm someone of high integrity. I'm someone who's nice. I'm someone who's kind. I'm someone who listens. I'm someone who's very present and gifts other people that. And I think if I go through life constantly on edge, constantly, you know, that feeling of just you're impatient with people and you're rude and you don't really listen and they don't truly feel the connection. I think I would regret going through life not showing up as someone like I described, because the reputation can be built over 20 years and then you lose it in one day. Another regret that I want to minimize, and it's a really useful exercise to think about Jeff Bezos' regret minimization. Shut down the computer, turn off the TV, take out the ear pods, remove the distractions, and really think about your life at 75 compared to where you're at today. I'm 28, it's about 50 years away, and really feel it. If you're sitting there unable to move, would you regret that because you can't change it? It'd be poison, it'd be toxic. So I really do that exercise. And another regret that I want to minimize is not taking risks. So I'm walking down the beach, talking into my phone to you right now. There's other people walking for exercise. There's other people, they're wondering. They're like, everyone turns their head. They're like, what is that guy doing? What's he doing? And I guess you could consider this a risk, but it's something I love to do. Making videos, speaking my truth, because this is a form of expression. And it's my art, it's my creativity, it's something I love to do. But I know a lot of people who would be incredibly fearful about just talking into a camera, let alone talking into a camera in a public spot with other people walking around them. So I don't consider it a risk, but as I think about other risks, I fear going through life not taking risks, because I think most people understand the risk of taking a risk, but most people grossly underestimate and don't understand the risk of not taking risks. Because how many people go through their life not fully tapping into their potential, only to wake up one day and realize it's too late? They have obligations. I get comments all the time, and people say, you don't understand, I've got kids, I've got a house, I can't do what you're saying you're doing. And I say, look, you can't use a decision you made as a reason to lower your standards. So I want to set very high standards. I want to achieve, but I also want to achieve with balance. I want to achieve with presence, in essence. So I want to take risks, but I want to take smart risks with other smart people. And I think entrepreneurs, they actually don't like risk. They want to minimize risk as much as possible. They want to create asymmetric risk situations where the downside is capped and it's tiny proportion to the upside could be 100x. So I'm thinking about risk, and I want to take much more risks. That would be a deathbed regret of mine if I don't take the risks. And I'd say the final non-obvious deathbed regret of mine, and we talked about the relationships, the health, the work stuff, but the other one would be around mindfulness and presence. I've adopted meditation recently. I've been doing it on and off for the last few years, but I've been pretty consistent the last month or so. I just completed a 2-month breathwork program. I invested like $900 to do it every Sunday morning with my yoga teacher and a few other people for 2 hours. We do breathwork exercises. That's had a big positive impact in my life. But the reason why this is so important is because people get excited about coming to the beach. They want to come here like me. And I observe most people here are just distracting themselves. They just sit down, they've got a book, they've got ear pods in, they're drinking, and they finally get to this place of solitude where they can enjoy themselves, and they just find a way to distract themselves. So they're actually not present whatsoever in the one place that you would think you could sort of open up, the beach, because the ocean is very humbling. You realize you're very insignificant relative to that. So all of your problems start to fade away. But people go further into their own mind and they distract themselves. And as you extrapolate that out to day-to-day life in this tech-forward era, everyone's on the phones, walking down the street on the phones, ear pods in. You're on a computer all day, and then you use the computer or the TV as the entertainment in the evening. and then you just repeat it, and people are just in a constant loop, a cycle of distraction. Especially motivated young men like me, you're constantly absorbing content that is like mental masturbation, because it makes you feel good in the moment. You think you're doing something of significance because you're listening to someone who has actually achieved, but yet there's no actual action taken on the back of that. And I think that would be a regret of mine, of living in this zombie-like, tampered down state. It's almost like a sedative, like constantly being on the technology and not being present, and not just taking life in as it comes, and being in your own head. It's like being on a sedative, and you're not actually living life. So I'm constantly trying to step out and refocus and get into my breath, get into my body, listen to my heart, and just let life come to me, and then use that intuition to shape my decision making, not constantly be in this state of analysis, rationalization, like so many people are, because they're thinking, oh, I want to take the job that pays the most, I want to move to this other place, and they're worried about everything other than what's happening right now, right in front of them. It's like the cliche about friends get together, they go to the bar to go out, and they say, okay, what do we want to do tonight? And you're like, you know, we're actually doing the whole thing. We're doing the thing right now. We're actually doing it. And it's the same thing with work. People are in this role, and they're so focused about getting to the next role that they lose sight of the actual job responsibilities right in front of them. And I think that would be a major regret of mine, is going through life not actually capitalizing on the present and really rooting myself in that moment at all times. And I'd say this is one of the biggest challenges I struggle with, that I'm working on. But it's absolutely beautiful out here. Those are my thoughts. Those are the deathbed regrets that I hope to minimize, not obvious ones. And of course, showing up with more happiness and joy, being more present, showing more love to my loved ones, spending more time with future kids when that place comes, not spending too much time at work, not doing work that's not meaningful to me, and losing my body would be a major, major regret, because you see a lot of people here, they sit around in the sun all day, ruin their skin, it's like leather. They drink all day, they don't stretch, they consume terrible propaganda, CNN, Fox News all day, and then they drink, and they think about, where are we going to dinner tonight? And then they do that every single day. It's nice not to have the white button-down dress shirt on. That will be in the next video. But at least when I'm sitting at my desk grinding away, I'll be more tan. Thanks for spending the last 12, 13 minutes with me. And I encourage you to take some time to yourself and really think about what you would regret later in life, because there's nothing worse than getting to that point and realizing it's too late to change it.